Welcome to the show, everyone. Today's a very special show. I'm very excited. If you're finding us on YouTube, know that you can take us with you. It's a podcast, and you can click the link below in the description and download the podcast to take us with you. However, if you're listening on the podcast, I invite you to come to YouTube and watch us, because you're going to get to meet in person for the first time on video some of the Empowerment Strategist trainers. And I'm excited to introduce them to you. Today is February 1st, and it is 2022. And this is a new year and a new energy. We're getting ready to launch these trainers into the world under this program and invite you to work with them. I'm also today opening up applications for the Empowerment Strategist Program 2022. So if you have ever been interested, you're going to hear from these ladies a little bit about the program and what they each got from it and what they are doing in the world, how they're different, why they did it. You heard some of that on the 300th episode. Last year, we did talk about sort of the journey, because as you all know, when I started the show, I was a personal trainer. So things have shifted, and it became clear the direction I needed to go in. The universe pounded me. And it even just recently, it's become understanding that this is actually my life's work. My whole entire life has been leading to these moments and beyond. And it's exciting. It's scary. I upper limit all the time. I invited someone to be an affiliate to one of the programs I'm doing, and the person has 1.5 million people on their email list. And I buckled at my knees and thought, oh my God, should I be doing this? Right. So at every turn, we all grow and expand, and it doesn't really stop. It doesn't end. There's no end point. And when you get involved in a program like this, or when you decide, I want to help people, and I want to help people do what I've done or what I've learned, that's a powerful thing, because right now in the world, what we need more than anything is to have love, connection, and hope. Hope that there's more to life, more to connection, more to expansion, not feeling lonely, not feeling weird. I don't know, by a show of hands, and only people who are watching this are going to hear this, but by a show of hands, ladies, how many of you, prior to possibly finding my show, felt like a little weird in your life, like you were interested in things that nobody else wanted to talk about? Okay. Yes. Thank you. See, so this is the community that we've built, because you can't tell your family you think that your thoughts become things. That's weird. So here we are. And so that we know that the work works. You hear it from me on the show sometimes when I share, and you're going to continue to hear it. But, I'm weird. So I've invited these ladies to come on, and I'm going to have them each introduce themselves. I'm going to go in the order that we're here on the screen. So we're going to go Wendy, Libby, Krista, and then Emily. And just, to remind people who you are, tell them who you are, where you're from, and how you got here. Let's start with Wendy.
Hi, as she says, my name is Wendy. I live in Gatineau, Quebec, Canada. And how I got here was I was going through a difficult time at work, and I recognized my old patterns of codependency and victim mentality, and I needed something to constantly remind me of the work that I had done and to kind of instill it a little bit more. So every single podcast that JJ has put out, I've listened to every single one, and it helped me tremendously, especially at the workplace, because I'm able to listen to stuff at work, and it kind of really kept me in check. So I can't thank her enough, and the Empowerment Strategist was just right down my alley.
And you found me, what, 2 years ago, maybe?
2019.
2019 on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy.
Yep. And then you mentioned Fit to Love, and you mentioned Health and Wealth, and I jumped in every single one of them just to make sure I didn't miss any of your podcasts.
You're so funny. You probably take the cake for someone who's I actually believe you've listened to every single one of them. And you're probably the only one besides me who's listened to every single podcast I've ever done. Cause you have to focus on that. So thank you, Wendy. I'm glad that you're here. And it's Wendy Patterson. So she just said Wendy, but you guys can mention your last names, because just in case another Wendy down the line comes in, I want to make sure they know who you are. So
thank you, JJ.
You're welcome. Libby.
Hi. Thanks, ladies. Thanks for having us. So my name is Libby Szarka. I'm from Alberta. I say Alberta because I'm kind of back and forth between Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary. So I found JJ and about the same time Wendy did, I feel like. And I I'm a person in recovery, and I've done a lot of self-growth, a lot of different avenues, working on myself. And I was really craving a deeper spiritual connection and something more. I just had a real desire to get something more. And I had a friend who listened to podcasts. They're like, why don't you check out some podcasts? So I just Googled or search spirit energy, like spiritual, and there you were. And I knew I found my people straight away. It was instant. Yeah. I'm so happy.
Awesome. Thanks, Libby. How long ago was that?
I feel like it was 2 years ago now. I feel like it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Libby. Krista.
I am Krista Burkling, and I've been listening to JJ since early 2018. It's either late 2017 or early 2018. And like Wendy, I was going through a very tumultuous time at work, was really searching. I could feel a big energy shift trying to happen, but I didn't have the tools to facilitate it. I was lucky enough to have a dad who was actually really into Abraham. So I did grow up knowing and believing that thoughts became things, but it wasn't tangible to me until I met JJ. And so I gobbled up all of spirit, purpose, and energy and just listened from start to finish. Like Libby, I just felt like I found my people. I found myself being like, yes, I want to try this. I want to try this. This is so amazing. Where has this been my whole life? And so, then of course, when JJ started talking about becoming an empowerment strategist, I just was like, yes, I need to do that. So and that's the rest is history.
Awesome. Thanks, Krista. And to think, I almost didn't put out spirit, purpose, and energy, that it may have been something I didn't do. Look at all of you are here because of that show. Emily.
Yes. Thank you so much for putting out spirit, purpose, and energy. I can't imagine you not having done that. I as well have been listening for a few years. And I found you, JJ, when I was just looking to grow a little bit more spiritually. And I kept hearing about doing the work. And I had been to a few therapists, and I've read all of the books, but I still didn't really know what doing the work actually meant or how to actually do that. But through listening to your podcast, I was starting to, I can introduce this and this. But then when you mentioned the Empowerment Strategist certification, I just got this intuitive, full body yes. Then, of course, the thoughts crept in, trying to convince me otherwise, but I listened to my gut, and I'm so thrilled that I did, because now I actually have tools and I actually know what doing the work means, which has helped me immensely, and I believe will help very many other people. Thank you, JJ.
Oh, thanks, Emily. That's awesome. I love that you said all that. Yeah, because I do harp on that, like doing the work, because there's a difference, and you guys understand now, and with all the tools that we have, especially, like the newest tool here, whole brain living, understanding the different parts of the brain, and that when you talk about something, that's only one aspect. It's not going to necessarily create new neural pathways, just having a conscious awareness of something. And it doesn't actually even mean we shift. People can have ahas and do nothing differently forever and really never get out of their patterns and their habits. So when I announced it, and for those of you that don't know the story, back in 2019, when I did the first manifestation bootcamp, one of the participants, Shauna, you guys know Shauna came up to me and said at the end, she's like, you need to teach people what you do. You need to certify people to do what you do. And I looked at her like, I can't, it's my brain. I can't do that. I can't teach you. I can't give you my brain and how I look at the world. But then after I sat with it for a little while and someone else said it too, I thought, no, I can't, but I can teach you the tools that I use. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And I have a lot of them. And I could pick the top 5 or 6 of them that I use all the time and teach people how to use those tools. And that's what we did. And I announced the beta Empowerment Strategist program, which is what these ladies did last year, and which meant, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to create it as we go, and bear with me, because this is new and we're going to all learn together. I'm going to teach you what I do, and then you're going to help me create this program. And for that, you're going to get in first, and lots of benefits from that. And so there we have it. And I didn't know that anybody was going to do it. And except I do have to say, some of these ladies have been in, like Wendy, Libby, and Krista are in my Inner Circle membership, which is soon to have a makeover, by the way, in terms of what we call it. but, and Wendy and Libby had joined my Emerging Business Builders Mastermind. And when I started mentioning it, Wendy kept going, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that. So I knew Wendy was going to do it. I was pretty clear that Wendy was going to be joining me, and I didn't know who else was. No idea, right? New thing. So I just want to go around quickly and ask you all to tell everybody why you did it. Like what was, because some of you work for other people. Emily, you're a teacher, and Libby, you had a job at the time. You were counseling and working in a center. And Wendy, you have another job with the government. And Krista, you were a surrogate at the time, and you also have another gig and you work with your husband. So you all have things you were doing. So what made you pull the trigger to apply and then to join? Wendy?
I believe, I know, I wanted to learn how to use your tools. You'd mentioned all these tools that you mentioned on your podcast. It's like, I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to know how she does it. I just wanted to know. Because when I would listen to the podcast, it's like, okay, but how do you? It's just the techniques on how to do the work. It was more in depth, and where the course was working on me from the beginning and from the get-go. So it was spending more time with myself and digging further in with your tools to actually pull out some of the unconscious issues of my past, to kind of bring it to the forefront and to actually work through them a little bit more strategically. So that's why I was just so gung-ho. I just wanted to get rid of my crap. And I know that the crap is not going to continue, it's not going to go away. However, it will kind of lessen once I pay attention to it and kind of massage it and see it from a different perspective, rather than seeing it in the victim mentality or from that, that core wound place of my inner child that just didn't get worked on.
Okay. I so want to ask like the next 3 questions, but I don't want everyone else to be overwhelmed with. So I'm going to continue with this question, and I'm going to come back to the 3 in my mind. I want to continue on because it's also right. Because people are thinking other things like, okay, I'm not going to go there. Libby, Krista, and then Emily, why did you pull the trigger? Why did you apply? Why did you want to do this? Libby.
Sure. Well, for me, it was a pretty easy decision. I had a couple one-on-one sessions with you, and also been listening to your podcast, doing the work. And I just knew how much growth I experienced in a really short amount of time. And I knew you also had a lot more tools to offer. And I wanted to be able to take the people that I was working with to the next level that I was experiencing. And so it was like, I wanted it so bad. And I knew that those were the tools that were valuable for myself, and also in the work that I was already doing with people. And because I was working with people very fresh in recovery, and after a few years in recovery, I find the same thing, like not only for myself, but other people experience as well. It's like, what's next? Like they're looking for that next level, but don't know how to get it, and find yourself, if you're not moving forward, you're kind of moving backwards. And just that, I don't know, it was like, when you climb a mountain almost, and you're almost at the top, but there's still quite a bit left. And it was just like, okay, how do I get there? How do I get up to the top now? The trail is gone, So yeah, it was like making that new trail to get to a higher level, honestly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. I love that answer.
Yeah.
And I know that's for the recovery community is an important place, because there's sort of an endpoint, right? Sort of, you go through your 12 steps, and then now what?
Yeah. Well, now what was like going back through them again. And it's like, why am I going back there? Like I've already worked through that stuff. Why do I have to keep repeating it? And so it's just such a valuable tool, the tools that you have. And there's even so much more that you do have that we haven't even covered yet. So I'm really looking for the next part of that too.
Oh my gosh. And I keep getting more. I mean, this one is so fun. Anyway, I'm holding up Joel Bolte Taylor's most recent book, Whole Brain Living. But anyway, so we're going to get to that. Thank you, Libby. Krista, why did you pull the trigger and do this program?
All right. So the reason I wanted to do it was every time JJ was talking about it on the podcast, I kept getting, this, like Emily said, this full body, like, yes, I want to do that. That sounds like exactly what I should be doing. And then I kept talking myself out of it and finding excuses. And then the imposter syndrome of why would I be, good enough to do that kind of stuff kept creeping up, but it kept hitting me harder and harder each time. And then I started really imagining it. And then it became this like, why wouldn't I do that? Actually, that sounds like the perfect direction for my path. And I really, then it became this, I need to do this. And so the idea of learning all of these amazing things that you teach and taking it in, my own direction under your umbrella and helping so many people not only work on myself, but also help others do the same. And just that fits with this picture that I have of just this more enlightened world that I want to live in. And so I want to help people be part of that more enlightened world.
Beautiful. Perfect. Thanks, Krista. Emily, who was the second person to join, by the way. I will give you credit that you were like one of the first applications. I mean, Wendy had an insider track. She knew it was coming because of the mastermind, but you were probably the second application that came in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I applied the first time I heard it. I didn't need to hear it too many times. You mentioned it, and I was driving to work, and I think I even pulled over to apply on my phone, and then you contacted me, and it just kind of went from there. But I'd like to second what Krista said about just spreading this kind of information around the world. It's time that everybody knew how to take care of themselves in concrete ways, handle their emotions, deal with their relationships properly, and just love each other and themselves a little bit more. So I'm really, really glad that you've decided to share these tools with people, because while you can't teach someone how to think the way you do, the more people that know these tools and then apply them in their unique way to their lives, the better. So I am a teacher, but I'm also a lifelong learner, and I love me a good course. So I signed up right away. And I also knew that it would not only improve my own spiritual and psychological and emotional development, but I knew that it would help my relationships and the lives of my students. So I'm really looking forward to going back to school and teaching some of these things to my future kiddos.
Beautiful. That's a fun story. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Now here's a question for all of you that people have been wondering, and I want you to share with them. So for those of you who have been listening for a while, or maybe it's you thought about it last year and it wasn't the right time, or you just started listening after I closed the application process and started working with these ladies. And we are missing a few people. I couldn't invite everybody to today's recording just to keep it in time to not be a 3-hour show. and also just to really hone in on those that really wanted to share a personal story about the program. I'm a believer in, and I'm not, as of today, I do not have any plans to make this a certification that I have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world be doing. That's not my goal. My goal is to and this has been the process of learning about what I do want. I hired a coach to help me, someone who's done this, someone who has probably the oldest coaching platform and has been certifying coaches all over the world for like the longest time. Because I'm looking at different models and I'm like, that's not what I want. This can be a whole business in itself, and people can make money and live off of just teaching people their tools, but it's my name. And those of you, I think, who follow me understand that I take that very seriously. Like you guys, I think you trust me so much that what comes out of my mouth, you trust that I've vetted it. I have experienced it. I'm not a sellout. I'm not going to give you something no one's going to pay me to endorse something I don't believe in 100% or haven't tried. I take that very seriously. So when it comes to working with you guys, I need to know that you've done this work. I don't want to teach the tools. You can learn the tool. Everyone can go learn the tools on their own. They can go read the books and figure the things out on their own. What I want to know is how you apply them, how you use them, how you live them. And so there's the component to this certification is I actually need to know who you are in the world, how you show up, how you deal with things, how you process things, how you take responsibility for your emotions. So did you know when you came into this, so this is going to be a 2-part question. Did you know when you came into this that this was going to be basically like coaching for you. Like this wasn't just, oh, you're going to teach. It's like taking a class at school. I'm going to sit in the classroom and I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to write my test and I'm going to leave. I'm never going to be confronted. I'm never going to be challenged. I'm never going to be pushed. Like this is a program where if you can't go through the work yourself, then I don't want you teaching it to other people because I mean, under my name, go teach it under your own name. But that to me is really important. So did you know, so the first part of the question is, did you know it was going to be confronting to you, meaning like you had to go through the exercises on your own with your own life, with your own stuff? And what tangible results happened because of any of this? How was your life any different? Did it work? Right? People want to know that I'm going to go through this, but what shifted? Because as you guys all know, and for those of you that are listening, I'm doing a free workshop at the end of the month, February 23rd, 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective. So you can go to jjfilzanes.com/therapy to sign up for that. And I'm going to break that down. But, part of it is people see therapists for years and years and years and years. And then you look at their life and they're no different. They don't do anything differently. They have they're talking about the same thing. They're reacting the same way. They're in the same environments, like they haven't grown. Now that's not everybody, but it's a lot of people I've met, I've experienced some of that. I've seen it all over. I've worked with clients that have been like that. They come to me and they've been in therapy for 10 years. So people want to know, does this work? So question number 1, did you know you're getting involved in something that was going to be therapeutic for you? And 2, how did it work? What's the proof in how your life is either different or how you're different? Wendy.
Okay. So I wasn't 100% sure if it would be work on me, but I was just so hoping it would. Like I was just begging for it myself. I had gone through lots of therapy in my past. I knew a lot of the work I had to do. I just didn't know how to do the work. So I was ecstatic that I was learning your tools and I was going through the whole process myself. So, and what has shifted is that I can now label my feelings. I was just so engrossed and so, I guess, lost that now when I am actually triggered or if I have an emotional reaction to something, I can actually now sit back and I can actually label it. And then I'm working now further to go back to that further core wound and, just tell that little girl that you are safe and to move forward. And actually at this point in time, I find that my reaction to things has diminished. I can actually sit back and say, I'm really sorry I reacted like that because I was just really going through a frustrating moment and I didn't need to take it out on you. So I'm so sorry. And then move forward. But I'm finding that even that is happening instantaneously rather than taking days to get over it and days to move on from it. So there's so much proof right there in the pudding.
Or only because I had a session with you. Wendy's also in my Inner Circle Mastermind. I had a session with you recently. You are definitely shortchanging yourself because you stood up for yourself in a way you never have before recently. Mm-hmm. You spoke your truth in a way you never have before recently. Mm-hmm. Would you say you're more confident now?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Stepping out into myself and putting myself out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you came to share with me what had happened at work, and you literally, I saw you be completely different than you were a year ago, where you would have internalized it, taken it within, and you went right out and claimed your power. You've moved up the vibrational scale from like feeling attacked to wanting respect, to defending yourself, to claiming your power. So anyway, that's what I've seen. I don't know. You guys can, what I'd love to hear at the end is anyone who wants to tell each other how they've seen each other grow. Because there's only so much that we see within ourselves. And sometimes some of you want to be whether it be modest or you don't know that that's actually true, in your head, you're like, I think this is thing, but I'm not really sure if this is what's changed. But because you reflected that back to me literally a few days ago, Wendy, and we recorded it so we could all watch it to see that Wendy stood up for herself, spoke her truth, asked for what she needed, laid down the law. And that was something you would have shrunk a year ago and just kept your mouth shut and stewed on it and swirled in it. And you didn't do that.
Nope. And I'm very, very thankful that I did, because I actually now can really distinguish the feeling of, there's a distinct feeling within of taking it personally or stepping up and voicing something. So I've really noticed that feeling, that shift within. So I'm forever grateful for the whole program. Forever grateful.
We just got started.
I know.
So thanks, Wendy. All right, Libby.
Yeah. So did I know that I could do, or that I was going to go through the work when I joined up? Absolutely. And that was a big thing. I thought, you know what, if all I get from this program is personal growth, I was in. I knew the value just in that alone, like the amount of what we'll be doing, how long the program was, all the work. And I thought, if that's all I've obtained, like that, it's definitely worth the value. Like I'm worth that. And I was willing to invest that in myself. And also in the work that I was doing already as addiction counselor, I had gone through that work too. And I know that I can't take somebody to a place where I haven't gone or I'm not willing to go. I remember even just sitting in when I was taking my addiction training, we're having to do a timeline. I'm like, oh my God, this is a really freaking hard, but if I can't do it, how can I expect the people that I'm working with to do it? And even some of the work that we've done, like the imago therapy and digging up all that core wounds. Now, like that used to be so scary to me. And now I freaking love it. Like, it's so exciting. I'm just like, and I've learned to discover those core issues from a place of curiosity rather than like, oh my God, all these things that's happened to me and I'm kind of broken. And it's like, no, I'm not broken. I'm not the things that's happened to me. Those are experiences. And unless I can dig those up and recognize and identify patterns, not only in repeating, because like, obviously, if I don't identify those patterns, I'm just going to keep repeating those until I learn those lessons. And it doesn't have to be so scary anymore. It's like, wow. And what I think is really cool is I can pass that on to the people that I'm working with now. So like, I'm like, it doesn't have to be a scary place. Like, they're like, oh, a lot of people are like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there. It's like, really, all you're doing is being curious, identifying those things and learning how to get those needs met that you didn't get from your childhood or whatever. Maybe it was a relationship. So it's just, I just love it. It's really, really freaking awesome.
Thanks. Well, what, in what way do you think you're different now than when we started?
Oh, wow. So many ways, in so many ways. I've always, like, I've been pretty fortunate. Like, my parents started to get recovery like years ago. And so, and I'd have had different tools, but I think that I don't judge my emotions or what's going on so much anymore. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm having a really off day and I'm just beating myself up. It's like, I'm having an off day. Maybe this is mood. Maybe I need to like, just to sit down and check in and identify, okay, what is it that's happening? And just take it like that next level. What am I needing right now? And actually getting those needs met without judgment. It's like, I don't have to try to figure out or think there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with being sad or crying. It's like really okay. It's like, feel like having a cry, have a cry. It's like, oh, that felt really good. Like, our heart is meant to feel all these emotions. And I just stopped judging them and just allow myself to feel them. And one other thing that I've noticed is it's one thing to release all this stuff and all that, but I have to be filling myself back up with the good stuff. And if I'm not doing that, it's so easy to resort back to unhealthy habits. So I would say that just those healthy patterns that we've created, even through your 30-day manifestation challenge, right? Like the just those daily rituals are so important. And I actually will find myself doing more of them when I'm doing release work, because I want to be filled back up with good stuff. And I just think that is, for a lot of people's missing piece. You know, they emote, but then what? So it's just too easy to resort back. So yeah. And there's more, there's so much more, but I would say that is the most prominent thing that's showing up, as well as I can really notice a difference in my children, you know, and they're doing some of the work, and they're working with some of the girls here. And and I could just see the change in them, and it's just beautiful. Now we can talk about it, and it's a daily conversation. We're sharing our growth with each other, and it's so beautiful. I feel so blessed. And honestly, I wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for you. So I really, much love. Yeah.
I love you too. Thank you, Libby. And I wish we could, I'm not going to get that specific, but I wish, you know, just to also let you know, and you guys heard this on the 300th episode, what I want people to understand is that I want to address Libby's bravery. And what I mean by that is, when people want to grow and expand, here's how some of you do it. And this is not a sales pitch. This is, I want you to honor and understand that when you're committed to your growth, you ask the question, how can I? You don't say, I can't do it. When Libby joined the program, she literally said she had the exact amount of money for 1 month's payment in the bank. She didn't know how she was going to pay for it. Every single month, she didn't know how she was going to pay for it, but she did it anyway. She joined like right as I ended it. She's like, I have to do this. I can't not do this. Like, it was too strong. And when she came out of this at the end, I mean, she's manifested some pretty amazing things at the end financially, to where now that's not even going to ever be a question again. So the trust that you had in yourself to do this, and the listening to, because that's where all of us to some degree, right, sit back and we have these internal knowings and we don't act on them. And again, this is where the cancers come in. This is where the depression comes in. This is where the anxiety comes in, because you literally have a voice speaking to you that you're not listening to. You're denying it. So for all of you, and especially you, Libby, because I don't know everybody else's financial things, you mentioned it on the 300th episode that we talked about for Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, I think it was, where we discussed this, and I didn't even know it then. You announced it to the world that, hey, I didn't even know how I was going to pay for this. Like, I barely had enough money to pay the first payment for the first month, but I just dropped into trust and said, all right, I trust this. I can't not do this. And so I just want to acknowledge that. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think that it's just, and I say it to my clients too that I work with, I don't let that money stop you. If it's for the good for yourself, it's something good, it's something you really want to do, just ask, like what you said, just show me how. Ask the universe, show me how can I do this? You know, and just money should never be an issue. All money is energy, you know, and it's an exchange of energy, and I'm putting in and I'm going to get out. And the universe showed up for me every month. My payment was due. It was crazy. And I didn't worry about it. I just trusted, you know, like, oh, trust, show me how, and just trust that it will happen. And it's just, and now it's crazy to think about where I was then and now, and the financial freedom that I do have, and the freedom not only just in my career, in my work, like I can just pick and choose who I want to work with, where I want to go. And I think we always have that, but we let fear get in the way, and fear should never control our life. We should just do what's true to our values, what feels good, what lights us up, and let the universe take care of the rest. And so that is definitely something that I do on a daily, and it works. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Libby.
Yeah, thanks.
Krista.
All right. Well, yes, I did know that we were going to be doing the deep dive, and that was part of the appeal for me, for sure. Like Libby, that was what pushed me to actually, you know, double down on it and justify spending the money, because I felt like that would have been worth it if I was able to do that deep dive with JJ and change my own life. That would be worth every penny. What I didn't know is how much I was going to be getting from the other empowerment strategists. That to me has been like so amazing. The deep dive we've all done with each other, and just the deep connection we've made, and the insights I've gotten from each and every one of the girls that I've worked with. And the program officially ended a while ago, but it hasn't, because we all continue to learn and grow together. And it's amazing. Like, that has been so incredible. So that's to me has been the biggest takeaway here, not only getting to be a part of JJ's team, but getting to expand and grow with these ladies. So, and I don't even recognize myself in a lot of ways. And I keep telling everybody I'm not a completely different person, but I'm just so much more of who I'm meant to be now versus then. So I forget what the second question was, but
well, it was, yeah. How are you different? Like, tangibly, how are you different? How do you either because, you know, the biggest question people have, or if I take this program, I'm supposed to be different on the other side of it. Does it really work? Did it work for you? How do you know that it worked?
Absolutely. It's night and day. So as I was speaking about earlier, one of the biggest things I had was the worthiness issue, this imposter syndrome. Like, that has, of course, like little snippets jump up here and there, but I feel absolutely worthy now. That has completely shifted. And people around me are saying, you know, wow, you're so much different now. Like, my confidence is so much better. I feel, you know, so much more comfortable speaking about these things and helping people, but also I feel more comfortable holding myself back, because before it was like, I'm going to coach every single person who's available, you know, I'm going to coach you, and people would be asking me for that, but then not really open to what I was saying to them. It was a bit too much. So now it's like that reserve of knowing who I should be using this on, who wants the help. And then I'm seeing tangible results. I'm hearing from people that I'm coaching, like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that before. And wow, this is really helping me. And can't wait to try that kind of stuff is just so affirming. But also the ways in which I'm using it in my own life. Like, I'm calmer. I'm able to communicate better with the people around me, having better relationships with my children, with my husband, with my mom and sister. Like, I have grown so much in that area where I actually feel this so much more connected and so much more of a sense of love for all of the people around me, and just compassion for people in the world in general. Like, every little thing that we've salt and peppered in, that we've learned, and then, you know, expanding. It's more than just okay, these are the things we're learning. The little things that I've learned along the way from JJ and from the other girls, you know, are helping me so much in all areas of my life.
Beautiful. Thanks, Krista. And just so everybody knows, it's not just women, men can apply too, but so far it's just been women, and that's fine. It's open for anybody. But I appreciate that, Krista. Thank you so much. And yes, your sister keeps saying how proud she is of you. So, like often she says, I'm so proud of my sister. So, Emily.
Yes, I did know that it was going to be a deep dive, and just like Libby and Krista and even Wendy mentioned, that was the draw for me. I am still in my bamboo underground root growing phase. So I'm also still in lockdown. So I haven't seen myself out in the real world yet since this program. But the subtle shifts that I can feel, I know that flowers will blossom on the other side of this. And I'm really excited to see that, but I'm not in a rush to get there. I'm really enjoying this kind of slow, introspective growth period that I'm going through. And I also just want to highlight the relationships that have been created in this community as well. I was looking for community and accountability while going through this work on myself, but it has far exceeded my expectations, like true friendships and lifelong connections and real care and help that I haven't been able to find anywhere else. So yeah, I'm super thrilled and grateful, and I can feel the subtle changes, including just a more peaceful and harmonious atmosphere around me and in my home and in my relationships. And what's most important to me, and I can't wait to develop this further, is my connection to myself and to source. I feel like prior to this, I really outsourced my intuition and was just asking everybody around me what they thought I should do with A or B. And now I don't feel the need to request that help from anyone anymore. I'm really connecting to my own, wisdom and intuition. And that feels just so good. So, yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, trusting yourself and developing your intuition. I think did I include the strengthening intuition in this course? I think I did. I include a lot of the courses that I create because I want you to have the access to those tools. Because who was I interviewing? One of Dr. Naish's doctors, Dr. Miriam Rahav. You're going to love her. Okay. The show is called Spirituality and Medicine. Okay. And she's in New York, and we had this conversation, and I downloaded some shit. Like, I was channeling at one point. I said that like something came out really clearly. And I said, boy, I've never said that before. And she's like, you're on fire. I said, I'm channeling. She's, you're channeling right now. I said, I am. And she said, I wonder how psychic you are. And I said, well, it's not that I'm psychic, but we all have intuition and we don't strengthen that. But I have seen it work through the years since I started the very first Releasing What Weighs You Down. I've watched and it developed my intuition more, where I get pictures, where I get visions, where I get messages, where I get clear hits. And I'm like, all right, well, if I can do this, so can anybody else. So I developed the strengthening intuition course, which I included for all of you guys, because that is so fun and powerful to know. And when you start doing all this work, it changes you, and it changes how you show up in the world. It changes who you are in the world, as you all have said. There's a connection to source. There's a connection to Mother Earth. There's a connection to you. And we continue to nurture that and to strengthen that, hopefully forever, and continue to really honor that. And I think you all have said that in different ways. I want to turn the attention to, so a couple things are happening. One, if you're listening to this and you are watching this and you are interested in becoming an empowerment strategist, you can go to jjphilzanes.com/cert. CER2, like certification, cert, to apply. But you could also apply to be a case study. And we could do a case study with you. There is no schedule to do them right now, but I am open to that. And I believe that is jjphilzanes.com/case study. And if it's not, just check the links below in the show notes and below this video. So that way you can apply to be a case study, and that would be featured on the show and possibly here on YouTube. We'll see. But I wanted to introduce some of the trainers to you, because I also know that once that starts happening, right, and I'm not coaching as much, these are the ladies who I'm going to be referring you to and who you're going to work with through the Empowerment Strategist program. So I kind of want to go into a little bit about this is a little bit of a surprise, so let's just go with it. What your specialties are, meaning like who you would like to work with and who you feel, part of your zone of genius, everybody's zone of genius, is that you have learned something. You've experienced something, you've struggled with something, and now you've overcome that, or you've made progress in that. Again, maybe you're not at an end point, of course, but you feel not weighed down by that, not disempowered by that anymore. And you want to help others do the same thing. So what would that look like? What are some of the tools and the people who you feel like you could really help because you were them and now you've moved out of those? So let's start with Wendy. Wendy, what kind of situations or people would you think you would want to best serve?
People who have communication issues, basically, because I stepped out and started speaking up for myself. And that's personal, work, home, relationships, well, all relationships. People, victim mentality, codependency. What else was there? Meditation. I've gone to 7 10-day meditations, and anybody who actually needs a little bit of assistance in regards to that. And I do believe, and currently I've pushed myself a little bit further, and I'm taking NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, and I'm seeing so many similarities within that alone. That has really nicely meshed together, and just to push the certification a little bit further, where I can use your tools a little bit more deeper with the other modalities. So it's just endless, because everything is all linked. It just depends on the use and how you present it and whatever you're going through, and just, hone in on those areas. So hope
Awesome.
that. Good.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you. You're
Okay,
welcome.
Libby.
Thank you. So, I just love working with people, but I feel like, I have quite a few people that I'm working with already. And I would say the thing that lights me up the most and the work that I enjoy the most is getting to the core wounds. I don't know. I think because, it changed my perspective of that. Like, even though I knew what my core wounds were before, like it wasn't until that I went through that imago therapy that I could change the way I viewed them. And like, so no longer did I have to view them in a victim mentality. I could just use that knowledge to get curious, to identify what it is that I need to change going forward, or different ways I could light myself up and fill myself up. And I've been working with people for years to release baggage, but was missing that next step of like, okay, how do you fill yourself back up? You know what I mean? And how do we like release that? But like, we have you could take $100 bill and you could crumple it up and run it through the mud and shit on it and all this stuff, and that's kind of what I felt like. That was like me, like just run through the ringer and like all this just trampled on. But at the end of the day, when you wash it off, it's still $100. It's still worth $100. And it's like that, like we're born worthy. And then all these things happen to us, or that, unforeseen circumstances, or we have this idea of ourselves, but we're still worthy. Like we're still worthy. And so how do we wash all that stuff off and allow ourselves to be worthy? And I get emotional because it's just life-changing to get to a place where I can look at those things in my life, and I work with a lot of people that have dealt with a lot of trauma, and like, we don't have to be that. We don't have to keep on creating these victim circumstances. And I mean, trauma, everybody experiences trauma. It's how we deal with it that is different, how we process it. But the thing is about trauma is, until we get to a place where we can work through that and start filling ourselves up, we'll just keep attracting more of that because it's what we're used to. So how do we change that and start working more from our new brain instead of going back to our old reaction, like our old brain? And so I just say that is like the one thing that lights me up the most, besides working through people's upper limits. If there's only one book that I would say to people to read, it would be Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, because sorry, my light went out. But he just recognizing your upper limits and how to allow more good into your life. All of that.
Is it safe to say? And again, I sit in an observer seat with all of you, right? I mean, I'm in it, but I'm observing because I'm watching also. And is it safe to say, or accurate is really the question? Is it accurate to say that those first 2 sessions that I had with you, at that point, you had been in recovery. You'd been doing all the programs for, at that point, how many years?
12 years.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the shift, I think, in the Empowerment Strategist program between, and you and I did the core wound work before you started the Empowerment Strategist program, I believe.
No.
And we didn't. Okay. So we did the upper limits though.
Yeah.
Okay. We did that. All right. So when we did the core wound work, I remember your belief was that because of the trauma in your life and because of, would you say that your sense of worthiness has increased?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the shift was, I think your idea of therapy or working on yourself meant I have to find why I'm worthy. And there was a shadow or a cloud of a label, right? This happened to me. Like, one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of traditional talk therapy is because I feel like, and I don't like the words that people say, well, he's a narcissist or he's that person's bipolar. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a scapegoat. Like, we're going to blame other people. And the same thing when we label ourselves, I'm ADD. I'm like, no, that doesn't exist. But that's my excuse, or I have anxiety. It's like, this is a cop out. And some people don't know any differently, but I feel like, did you feel that these like labels that you had on yourself, recovery, trauma survivor, blah, 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 did you feel like weighed down by that? And at some point decide to just say, this isn't who I am, and let that go and and just grow into who you like, acknowledge, like you said about the $100 bill. Like, I feel like that shift when we had that session, and I said, maybe it's time just to like, let that go. And he's like, well, I thought if I still feel badly about it, then there's more to do. I'm like, no, there's not. It happened. You're never going to think greatly of it. It's like, let's move on and acknowledge what contrast it created for the life and pivot. Is that accurate that that's when that happened?
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of stigma that goes around labeling ourselves as an addict or as a person of trauma or as a victim of sexual abuse or whatever, you know what I mean? And like that label sort of sticks and that thing sticks. It's like, no, I'm a perfect spirit having a human experience, and I experienced some shit that I wasn't very fond of, but I'm not that stuff. I'm not that stuff. And yeah, I used to absolutely think that no matter how many times I just figured, okay, if I'm telling the story and I'm having emotion, that there's more work to do. Okay. And like you said, it's like, no, actually, no matter how many times you tell that story, it's still a sad story. So quit telling that story, quit telling that story and start telling the story that you want. What is it that you want in your life? You know what I mean? And just that knowing that, yeah, I'm not those things that happened to me. And I don't have to keep telling that story. I'm a perfect spirit, have a human experience, and I can use these tools. And I think the part, like I said before, was missing is I wasn't filling myself back up with enough of the good stuff. But I didn't, and it's not that I didn't, because my place of addiction took me to a place of homelessness. So it's not that I hadn't had any growth. I lived at a freaking homeless shelter. It was really fucking sketchy for 2 months before I could get into treatment. So, there was growth there, there's a lot of growth, but it was just that I was still stuck, and I'm doing the program, but everyone's like, well, you got to go when you do the 12 steps, you got to go back. And I'm thinking, why am I going back? We're meant to evolve. And if I'm not evolving, we're meant to go from five sensory beings to multi-sensory beings. And I feel like that you took with this work here that I've got to that next level. And I feel like, yeah, there's always another level, because if we're alive, there's growth to do. There's something to learn. If we're breathing, there's growth, there's something to learn for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Libby. Yeah. I'm in, maybe if we have time, you guys can give each other some affirmations and about what growth you've seen in each other. I'd love to finish with that if possible. Krista.
So who I'd like to work with is, I would love to work with everyone, but who I feel most drawn to working with are people who have a mother wound of some sort. Either they have had trauma in their past with their mothers, or they have a disconnect with their mom, have some anger, but then also as moms ourselves, the issues that we're all experiencing, especially I think over the last 2 years of growth. I like to think of what's happened over the last 2 years, not as this total oh my God, this was awful, but actually just a time of intense growth and expansion that has been completely life-changing to me. But on the other side of this, we all need to figure out how to be mothers and wives in this new and changing world. And so I am passionate about working with moms or men or women who have had issues with their moms and still feel that intense feelings and pull towards anger, hatred, sadness, that kind of stuff. So I want people to heal, and I want them to be the best versions of themselves and do the best that they can for their kids and their moms and their families.
That was one of your biggest takeaways during this program.
Absolutely.
Between you and your mom. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Okay, Emily.
Like Krista, I would love to work with everybody, obviously, but I think my zone of genius really resides with spiritually minded people who are ready to dive deep and actually put effort into their growth. But even more specifically, I would really love to work with teenagers. I really thrive with young people. And ideally, my coaching would be relational and familial types of relationships with communication techniques as well, but kind of focused on teens and young, like tweens themselves, as well as families with teens who are maybe struggling with that important transition in their child's life. So that's where I would like to focus.
Perfect. Look, Krista, do you want to add something?
Yeah. In addition to just mothers in general, also people who are struggling with fertility, people who are struggling with becoming a mother, people who have dealt with loss, considering like trying to get pregnant. And also, as a lot of you know, as you all know now at this point, I was a surrogate. And a lot of the reason behind that was not only because I saw the beauty of becoming a surrogate, but also because I had a lot of people in my life who struggled with fertility, and just watching the heartache that came along with that. So I would encompass that in the whole mother wound, that piece of it as well. So those would people I would be passionate about working with as well, to unlock that piece and possibly open up, like get into a more relaxed place where you can become pregnant or release that and move on in a different way.
Awesome. Anyone want to give anybody else a reflection back that they didn't mention? Emily's hand went up first. Go on, Em.
Just connected to what Krista was just saying, I want to shout out every single one of these beautiful, amazing women. Just like, I hope I don't get too emotional about this, but all of these women have helped me so tremendously in my life. And Krista and I have been talking a lot lately, and she has helped me through just a ton of stuff. Sorry. She's helped me through a ton of stuff in relation to motherhood and family and relationship. And it's just sorry. I hope you cut this out. My relationship with Krista it's been life-changing, and she's helped me in so many ways. And then Libby's story is so inspirational, and she's just such a powerful woman, and I'm so drawn to her, and I'm so inspired by her. And Wendy, I'm so proud of you for the evolution that I've seen in you. You've come into yourself. You've become such a confident, beautiful woman. And JJ, I hope you cut all of this out actually, but I'm so, so grateful for the relationships and the change that has happened through this program. So thank you.
And why on earth would I cut that out, my love? That was beautiful. Thank you. Oh my God. No, it's the power of the work. It's the power of the connection, and it's the power of this community. Honestly, that's it. I can't take credit for you wonderful, amazing people. And I just said, hey, I want this. And you guys all showed up, and you come to the table, and I take this very seriously. I'm only looking for another 6 people for 2022. This isn't like, hey, I want 20 people. I want 6. I want 6 people, because I need this. I need this depth. I need this connection, not just me, you guys, and how this goes. I want to make sure that I feel 100% about what's going out into the world, and like under this brand. And I want to cultivate these kinds of relationships, because it isn't just about, here's the tool. What's changed? Anyone can get the tools. You can go read all the books, everybody. It's about these personal connections that make things change, that shift each other, and that make and really change. Because again, you're not going to get this on a piece of paper. You're not going to get this in a book. You're not going to get this on a podcast. You're going to get this in a program. You're going to get this from another human. So thank you for that, Emily. Anybody else want to give a shot? Krista.
Emily, I'm tearing up now too. The connection that I've developed with all of these ladies, and then specifically over the last few months with Emily, and just everything that you're helping me through also, and the affirmations and making me feel good about my abilities also, all of you. And you've all helped so much with the worthiness piece of reflecting back to me. No, actually, that was amazing. Like, yeah, you're a great coach. Has been incredible. But just like the friend, like I feel such a deep connection to all of you. And it's so strange. Emily and I were actually talking, because in this time, and especially when you do feel weird, it's hard to develop sometimes a lot of really close relationships around you. So I was telling Emily, was talking about not having a lot of close friendships. And I say, yes, you do. They're just across the world from you, you know, where we might be in different countries, but that's how I feel, is like even through these screens, I'm so deeply connected and so impressed with all of you. And yes, seeing the change develop in Wendy over this time, and Patty as well, watching Patty grow so tremendously, and just loving the connection that I have with Patty and with Libby. And Libby is always just immensely impressive to me. I'm always just like, damn, that girl's on fire with everything that you're doing. And when I first joined up also, I felt like Brittany and Aaron were just kind of like elevated above me, like they intimidated me. But then the realness that comes through, and just this connection, and just their powerhouse and amazing, but also so reachable and tangible and approachable and just incredible. So like, I want to shout out to everyone individually, and just watching the growth, but also just like this like connection, and this just powerful, like watching this all unfold, and just feeling like you guys are my tribe. Like, I just love this tribe.
Thanks, Krista. Yeah, shout out to Patty and Aaron and Brittany. And hopefully they'll be back on, hopefully for a case study in the near future, and you'll get to know more about them also. So Aaron and Brittany were on, Patty, actually, the three of them were on the show that we did here in my living room. So you guys all got to hear a little bit about them. So Libby, did you, or Wendy, anybody want to?
Sure, thanks. So first of all, I just have to acknowledge that I think in order to show up for like a group like this, there's a certain amount of growth that a person already has obtained. And so that was just remarkable already. And I think that's the quickest way that we can surround ourselves with people that we want to be like, is just by, online communities like this, and books that you read, and definitely the growth that we've got to experience with each other over the last year. And I know Wendy and I were appreciation partners for a long time. She's now got other partners, but so I don't hear from her. That's okay. But we got to learn a lot from each other through that. And like, we could see the daily growth that was happening within each other. And that was just really beautiful. Through this program, we've got to take turns being partners with each other, and what an amazing experience that with. I've got to partner with every one of the girls. And so like, to pinpoint the growth, I feel like the growth was already there. It's just accelerated. And what I see more now is the confidence that everybody radiates, and just allowing themselves just to come into their own self, because they're just beautiful and perfect just the way they are. And so it's just really nice to have been a part of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Libby. Any last words, Wendy?
I'd like to join in. I will actually say I was extremely intimidated by every single one of you when I first started the program. And as I got to know every single one of you, I've learned such an appreciation about every single one of you. And I've learned an awful lot from every single one of you. So thank you so, so, so very much for everything, everyone.
Beautiful. All right. Well, here's the beginning of the team. Again, missing Patty and Brittany and Aaron, and looking for 6 more people for 2022. Today is the first day applications are open, jjflazanes.com/cert. Or case study if you want to work with any of them, or try us out and have us and be on the show and get the ball rolling. jjflazanes.com/case study. Check the links in the show notes just to make sure I'm accurate. And again, I love you guys. Thank you so much. This is a fun life. Yes. Like it's just to know that, and to trust this process of like, what do I feel like doing, and creating it and putting it out there and testing it. And I don't know a better life. I mean, I've never been happier. I've never been more stable, secure, just in every aspect. And you've been part of that journey. And it's the goal of the show, and it's the goal of my life. So it's my life's work to get this work out into the world in some way, shape, or form. And I'm so thankful and appreciative that you guys are on the team. I couldn't have asked for a better beta team. So I love you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who's listening. I hope that I know that. So here, let me just take that back. I know that. Somebody inspired you. Somebody got inside of you today in a way that is gonna eat at you a little bit, maybe not in a bad way, just and it doesn't mean that you're gonna reach out and become an empowerment strategist. But what it does mean is that there is a message inside of you that you're not allowing out or that you're avoiding. And I want you to really sit with that and ask yourself, what is the next step with that? Do not let this inspiration and this activation of something inside of you go unattended, right? Let this be the spark that drives your next move to whatever that may be for you. All right. Love you all.